Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series presented by SM Racing Products. Tonight, we are here to crown a champion here in season number 11, and I'll tell you what a season it has been so far. But tonight, it all comes down to this here in Pensacola, Florida. Track half a mile in length, or 0.8 kilometers for those of you who use the metric system. And this is a race that's going to go by real quickly, provided there aren't any cautions. Drivers setting roughly 16-second laps here. That said, drivers are rolling off onto the starting grid already, so how about we take a quick look down at our starting lineup. Fortunately, our graphic, once again, a little bit inaccurate here this evening, having a bit of trouble figuring out where these drivers are. It's going to be Mike Sukup and Jason Gardner for your front row, as Tyler McRae, our current championship points leader coming into tonight's event, took the pole, but unfortunately getting an EOL penalty, so he's going to be starting it out at the tail end of the field at number 99. It's going to be Gardner and Sukup for your front row, though, followed by Nico Morelli in the 14 Justin Wilson Memorial and the unsponsored purple 78 of Derek Murphy for row number 2. Row 3 going to be our other championship contender here, Brian Sabelski, about 30 points out from the championship lead. Starting back in position number 5, followed by the Dirt TV 27 of Johnny Bell back in position number 6. Then, of course, going to be Patrick Dixon in the Advanced Auto Parts entry, followed by Tyler McRae rounding out the tail end of the field here. Green flag up in the air here at the Five Flag Speedway. Let's crown ourselves a champion for season number 11. Mike Sukup off to an early lead here in that Dropping Bombs race in number 45. He is a teammate of our current championship leader here of Tyler McRae. Of course, Sukup unfortunately not competing for a championship title here. He's actually all the way back in 18th in the championship standings coming in tonight's event, running part-time here this season in that number 45, but so far showing some impressive speed here. McRae, on the other hand, currently running back in the 7th position. McRae again, our championship leader coming into tonight's event by 30 points over Brian Sabelski. That is effectively a full race win, is about 30 points in the ASRC Oval Series. So Tyler McRae is going to have a very bad evening, and Brian Sabelski is going to have a really good evening in order to be taking home the championship here this evening, but it is not decided between these two drivers. Of course, McRae running part-time here this season, but in the time he has been here, he's taken home 7 race wins to his name, including last week's event at the Oxford Plains Speedway, bringing home a 1-2-3 finish for the Droppin' Bombs racing team. The other teammate that was there for that race at Oxford Plains, Steve Rex, unfortunately unable to make it out to this evening's event. But sure, he's out in the stands supporting his teammates, trying to help bring home the championship for the Droppin' Bombs racing team. Brian Sabelski only 2 spots ahead of Tyler McRae in the early going to this one in that McConey setup shop number 85. Sabelski has taken home 3 wins to his name. Pretty much every single one this season actually has gone to Tyler McRae and Brian Sabelski, with the exception of Jason Gardner up in 2nd, who has taken home a win back at Thompson a couple weeks ago in that number 93 machine. He is currently sitting about, call it roughly 90 points out of the championship right now. Unfortunately, Gardner, while he's had a very impressive run this season, will not be able to contend for the championship here this evening. Currently side by side on the speedway, though, Sabelski down on the bottom, Morelli up high. Morelli in that red and black Justin Wilson Memorial entry. He's going to be going up high, letting that 85 machine by. And that's going to allow Derek Murphy to try and file on in down there as well in that purple and white number 78. The only unsponsored machine out here in the field here this evening. Trying to make some moves here on that 14 of Nico Morelli. And there's Tyler McRae just behind. Tyler's nearly thinking about making it 3 wide there. He's going to back out of it. But Tyler, he really wants to get up there. He knows that while it is unlikely, it is still possible that Sabelski could take home the championship, and he does not want that happening. So he's really raring to get up there, try and make back the spots he lost from that EOL penalty. After all, He was the fastest car in qualifying. He took the pole, but unfortunately that penalty just stunted him all the way back down to the tail end of the field. But he's already passed 3 drivers and looking down to the inside of a 4th, and he's going to get down to the inside of Derek Murphy just like that, finding himself back in the 4th position. Now he has his eyes set on his challenger for the championship in that number 85 machine. Brian Sabelski is just ahead, but it's side by side here for Morelli and Murphy as Murphy slides up the track a little bit. Morelli going to clear him down on the low line here. This pretty much is a very low line centric track here at Five Flags. You basically want to be hugging the apron all the way around, and that's just the way to go. And you can see it working plenty here for Nico Morelli as he gets around that number 78, able to clear him off of turn number 2. Coming into tonight's event, this is actually a battle not for the championship, but it is a battle for position in the standings. Morelli and Murphy, only 5 points separating them out, with Murphy at 87, Morelli at 82. So a couple finishing positions here could make the difference between these two drivers, and they are currently battling it out for 6th. Up in 5th, a driver we have not really talked about very much right now. That's the 27 of Johnny Bell coming into this evening with 101 points to his name, and the driver right in front of him in the standings, CJ Henson, not able to make it out. So we could see Johnny Bell walking away with a 4th place finish here in the championship standings. Already 18 laps in the books, though, and we're only 5 minutes into this event, and that just goes to show how wicked fast these drivers are setting these lap times around the speedway. Currently, the fastest time on the track is going to be a 16.76 for our race leader of Mike Sukup in that drop and bombs number 45. Last time by a 16.96, so already these tires are starting to fall off for these drivers here just a little bit, slowing down the tiniest little bit, but not a whole lot. Still setting rare and fast speeds around the speedway. The last time by, it was actually a tie in lap times for Sukup, Gardner, and Sabelski. All identical lap times across the line. Let's see how it looks this time around. This time around, Sukup the fastest of the 3, just by a little bit. Let's take a moment to ride on board with Jason Gardner here, get an onboard view with these drivers, see just how fast they are able to rip laps about this half-mile speedway. You can see just ahead up there, only 6 minutes into tonight's event, and already lap traffic is beginning to become a factor here. Patrick Dixon about a second ahead of our race leader, Mike Sukup, and that gap is quickly closing. Last time by, Dixon about 7/10 of a second off the pace from our race leader. So we're going to have lap traffic coming in right here, right now, and it looks like there might actually be a little bit of damage to the right front of that number 2 machine. I'm not quite sure where that came from. Probably just a little bit of a scrape against the wall, but sure enough, Patrick Dixon's going to pull it up high and let our race leaders by. Brian Sabelski just behind, or not quite side by side, but nose to tail, battling for the championship between the two of them. Again, 30 points is the difference here in this championship between these two drivers. And Sabelski pretty much needs to win this race and have McRae come in last in order for him to have enough points to secure the championship. So right now, McRae is in a good position. He doesn't even need to necessarily pass around Sabelski here. If he were just to run where he is right now and finish the race as they are running right now, he would be the championship winner. But of course, This is Tyler McRae we're talking about here. He is not going to want to be giving up that championship at all. And of course, wanting to potentially even take home 8 race wins to his name as well, we could see Tyler McRae break the record for most number of wins in a single season if he takes home the win here in tonight's event. But of course, that is a big what if. He's currently running back in the 4th position. Sukup and Gardner both have a lot of speed here tonight. Last time by, both were roughly a tenth faster than this battle that's going on back here for 3rd and 4th. So Sabelski and McRae both have a little bit of work to do if they want to try and take home the championship here this evening. Of course, there are also a couple of bonus points here in this race. There are bonus points for leading a lap, bonus points for leading the most laps, bonus points for finishing the race without any incidents whatsoever. And every one of those could potentially be a deciding factor here depending on how this all plays out. 34 laps in the books so far, though. Already past a third of the way through tonight's event. These laps are clicking off like crazy here. And really, out of every track we've been to so far this season, these drivers really don't have a lot of time to be strategic or methodical. You got to get up to the front, and you got to do it as soon as possible because you're going to blink and it's going to be lap 95, and you won't have time to do it anymore. That said, for the time being, Sabelski and McRae at a very similar pace to each other last time by, both in the 17.1 range for these two drivers. Let's see how it is when we cross the line here, see if it gets any tighter. This time by, Sabelski faster than McRae by a full 1/10 of a second, so Sabelski's got some speed here, but both these drivers a little bit slower than Sukup and Gardner. A little bit further back at the tail end of the field, another battle going on here between Johnny Bell and Nico Morelli. This is for the 6th position. Both of them have fallen back away from our lead pack, but they are still duking it out here. And of course, it's like I said, Morelli, Murphy, and Johnny Bell are all in a battle side by side in the championship standings. And now they're battle side by side here in the track for the 5th, 6th, and 7th positions between these three drivers. Johnny Bell and really all three of them have all been part-time here this season. All of them have missed a couple of races. Of course, that is what the drop weeks are here for in the ASRC Oval Series. 4 drop weeks for these drivers to use up should they need be, as Johnny Bell's racing against the outside wall there a little bit, not doing himself any favors here in this battle. The 4 drop weeks here in the Oval Series should these drivers need them, so the championship will come down to everyone's 8 best finishes. The other 4 all going to be deleted, not considered for the championship. And of course, so far 3 of the 4 drop weeks have been calculated, so that could shake up how things are here for this championship as well. We're just going to have to end up seeing how the points play out, but right now everything is pretty much in Mr. Tyler McRae's favor here, as he's fallen back pretty considerably from Sabelski now. Call it about 7/10 of a second. That looks like maybe 4 or 5 car lengths here at this speedway, and it doesn't look to be getting any closer, that's for sure. Sure enough, up to about 8/10 of a second here. But that said, Gardner is also falling back from the race lead here a bit as well. Sabelski is beginning to close in on that number 2 machine slowly but surely. Again, about 5 or 6 car lengths is the difference here. Patrick Dixon coming back out on the speedway in that number 2, and he's going to loop it around. Will we see the caution flag come out? No, we will not. Race control is keeping it green here, but there is a car stopped on the apron. Patrick Dixon going to take the tow back to pit lane. Got a little bit too hard on the throttle here, but race control is saying no, keep it green, and keep it green we shall do. That's going to leave 7 cars left on the lead lap here. Patrick Dixon, so far the only driver that has elected to come down pit lane. And of course, we're only 13 minutes into this event, and we're almost ready to cross the line onto the halfway point, so I don't even know if these drivers are actually going to need to pit for fuel. They might be able to save it here with how small this track is and how fast they're clicking off these laps. I can't say that for certain. I do not know that 100%, so take that with a grain of salt, but these drivers might be able to fuel save to the end here. Tyler McRae, he battled it out all the way up through the first couple of cars on the speedway, but it looks like he might have used up his tires here because he is really falling away from this lead pack battle between Sukup, Gardner, and Sabelski, all within a second of each other for the race lead as we cross the line to be halfway through this time by. Lap car just ahead, that is the 14 of Nico Morelli up there, who is going to be our next car potentially going a lap down here. Of course, that is if we don't have a caution flag here in the next couple laps, but nope, Secup's going to go down low. Morelli keeps it up high for the race leaders, so Morelli will officially be going a lap down here. Of course, that can always change. There are lucky dogs here in the ASRC Oval Series, so we could see that driver get back on the lead lap should the caution flag fly later on in this event. We are side by side for the race lead, though, and Gardner is going to make the pass on Mike Sukup, new race leader here on lap number 52. Well, that ensures Gardner, while he is out of the championship standings and kind of in a little bit of a bubble right now where he's basically guaranteed to finish where he is, as he's actually going to pull it on down pit lane, as is the rest of the field except for Mike Sukup and Johnny Bell from the looks of things. Yeah, sure enough, everyone in the field is coming down pit lane under green this time by. Let's see what the call is for these drivers. As they're coming to the pit stop, so it is going to be at least 2 tires on that number 93 machine here. Will we see him take 4? Sources say no, and it looks like we're not really going to be seeing 4 for any of these drivers. Nico Morelli not jacking up the other side of the car, so it looks like he is getting some repairs done, but now we have Mike Sukup down on pit lane. Sukup also going to be putting on tires here under this green flag pit stop. 2 tires going to be called for most of our drivers. And now Johnny Bell is being scored as the race leader here on lap 55. Johnny Bell, a driver here in the field, always known for trying something just a little bit out of the ordinary with his pit strategy. Sometimes it works out great for him and brings him home podium finishes. Other times we've seen it just completely blow up in his face in a ball of flames. I hate to dig up bad memories, but I always remember back in season number 7, very first season of competition, when there was a broadcast here for this league. In the very first race back at Irwindale Speedway, Johnny tried to make it a 0-stopper, had to pit with 5 to go to get fuel, and that ruined his race lead. And then, just to add insult to injury, got a pit lane speeding violation in the process, and just kind of went 0 to 0 very quickly. But here tonight, we might see Johnny Bell turn that bad luck around, because right now he's picking up a couple bonus points for leading laps here. And who knows, he might just be able to stretch it to the end of the race. Certainly everyone else is not thinking that it's possible. But it's never good to doubt the driver of that Dirt TV number 27 machine. Depending on how things all cycle out, though, Jason Gardner is currently being scored as our race leader. Tyler McRae back in second, so McRae has gotten a lot of his speed back with these brand new tires, and sure enough, best lap for McRae is a 16.75, which is the fastest lap on the speedway. So Tyler McRae has gotten all of his speed back on these new tires. Now the question is he going to burn them off again like we saw him do under the first half of this event, or maybe he'll be a little bit more conservative with them coming through into the latter stage of the things. Regardless, he is in the lead over Brian Sabelski, and that is more than enough to confirm the championship for him here this evening. Like I said, pretty much the only way Sabelski brings home the championship here tonight is if he wins the race and McRae finishes in last. That is how big the gap is. That is how much the points that Sabelski needs to earn is. And Sabelski needs those bonus points too to really try and lock that in. But right now it's not quite looking like things are going to work out for him, because we are 63 laps into tonight's event. And currently, McRae is in the lead over Sabelski, and that right there kind of makes all the difference. Johnny Bell is going to elect to come down pit lane, so he is not trying the zero-stop strategy here this evening. But who knows, it could still work out for him. He's still short pitting the field, and he's still going to have roughly 13 lap newer tires than everyone else, as we hear a bit of a scrape against the outside wall. That sounded like that was either Gardner or McRae scraping the wall there as we cross the line. Fair enough, McRae is getting really close to that outside line when he comes back down the straightaways, but that will have Jason Gardner filtered out to our race leader in that number 93. Getting a little bit loose out of turn number 4. Hang on to it, Jason. That was quite the slide in that Toyota SM Racing ASRC late model. That could have gone real bad real quick, and I'll tell you what, that was a heck of a save by Jason Gardner, because I've done that exact same slide in a tour modified, and the result on my end was substantially less pretty than it was for Gardner right there. Still holding on to the lead of the race. About half a second between himself and Tyler McRae, though. McRae is gaining on him here. Last time by, McRae about 0.15 seconds faster than Gardner. As we cross the line again, not quite as drastic of a gap, but McRae still faster than Gardner, so he's going to be closing the gap to our race leader here in a pretty quick fashion. And with still more than 30 laps to go, I don't know if Gardner is going to be able to hold off this number 99 machine. I think Jason's going to have to play really defensive here in that number 93 if he wants to hold on to the race lead. We have seen how good McRae is in the short run. But if Gardner can just hold him off long enough, we might see McRae's tires fall away again like they did in the early goings of this race, and that could just be what allows the number 93 to take home the race win. A little bit further back, Sabelski and Sukup are battling it out, both of them a little bit off the pace here. Call it about 1/10 of a second or so slower than both of our race leaders last time by. But really, it could still be anyone's game here in this top 4. Already getting ready to cross the line onto 25 to go here at the Five Flag Speedway. And that just goes to show how crazy this race has been. We're only 21 minutes into this thing. This event has absolutely been flying by for these drivers. And that's what I warned about in the early goings of things, is this race is going to click by a lot faster than these drivers expect, a lot faster than some of the other events on our calendar. And you've got to be really aggressive, really pushy here to make those passes in the early run so you can stay up in the front, because it is just going to end faster than any of these drivers really come to realize. As we get a top-down view of things, call it about 4 car lengths between Gardner and McRae, and Gardner is pulling away just a little bit on corner entry, but he loses that ground on corner exit, so Gardner might potentially be overdriving the corners a little bit here. Across the line, though, 25 laps to go from our flagman up there. It's going to be a close one here, race fans. Of course, the big what if here is, can we keep this race clean? The battle has gotten closer between Sukup and Sabelski for third. Mind you, Sukup and Gardner are not in the championship contention here. This is all between McRae and Sabelski in second and third. And right now, things are not looking great for Sabelski's championship hopes. 23 left to go here at the Five Flag Speedway, though. What a heck of a show this speedway puts on. Of course, it is the host of the Snowball Derby everywhere. That is a 300 lap event rather than the 100 we put on here, and that is a heck of a race to watch. But these ASRC Oval Series drivers are putting on quite the show of their own right, even if it is a smaller field than we traditionally see at these short track events. It's going to come down to the wire here, race fans. Everyone's pitted, everyone has fuel, everyone's made what should be their final scheduled stop, unless something absolutely catastrophic happens, in which case the only thing they can really come down for is to fix damage. And at that rate, we're so late into this event that if you have damage you have to get fixed, you're done. You can't get back out onto the speedway in any sort of reasonable time here. 20 laps left to go. Closest battle on the speedway. The battle for second between Zabelski, or excuse me, the battle for third between Zabelski and Sukup. Sukup trying to peek the nose down to the inside, but Zabelski's just doing too good of a job of hanging down on that apron. Of course, you don't want to go below the white line. It's not a rule. You're allowed to go down there if you wanted to in theory, but if you're not careful, that apron, the traction's very different from how it is on a speedway. It will just grab that left front tire and absolutely yank the car around. And it's really difficult to hang on to it when that happens. So apparently, there's only so low you can go here on this racetrack, and Sabelski's doing an expert job of walking down that preferred racing line. Sukup just kind of powerless to get the nose down there. I mean, all it's going to take is one really good run to make it happen, but Sukup just can't get the momentum quite built up to make it happen here. Trying a little bit of a higher entry, arcing it down a bit more in the corner than we see Sabelski is, but it's just not quite enough to close the gap. Last time by 4 thousandths of a second slower than Sabelski. And both of them slower than Jason Gardner. Gardner is setting the fastest laps out of any of these drivers so far by over 1/10 of a second. So Gardner is suddenly finding some very late race speed here, but with 14 laps to go, looks like all the drama here is going to be between Sabelski and Sukup. Sukup hitting the pit exit cone there and sending it careening off in the infield. Hopefully that didn't hit anyone down there. I'll tell you what, though, if we didn't know any better, though, I would think that the championship battle is going on between this 45 and this number 85. I mean, I think we got the wrong dropping bombs racing driver running in the 45 machine here, because they are battling it out like crazy here, even more than our race leaders are. I do believe that Sukup will take home the bonus point for most laps led here this evening, one way or another. That is a bonus point that both McRae and Sabelski won't be seeing in this championship calculation. But right now, all of the cards are in McRae's hands to take home this championship. He's just got too much of a lead over Sabelski in the point standings for this to really go either way, especially even if McRae didn't finish in front of Sabelski right now. Let's say that Sabelski got some speed, gets around McRae here as we get the big double high five from our flagman with 10 laps left to go. Even if Sabelski were to pass McRae right now, it would not be enough for the championship. I mean, 9 laps left to go here at the Five Flag Speedway. Jason Gardner is absolutely pulling away from the race lead, and both Sabelski and Sukup are starting to catch McRae up here. McRae has definitely lost a lot of pace here. It looks like he might have done the same thing that happened in the early goings of this race in the first half and just burnt up his tires trying to race his way through the field. And now he's just not got a whole lot left to give here to that number 93 machine. Last time by, Gardner a 17.05. Everyone else is setting lap times in the 27.3 range. 0.3 of a second. Dividing our race leader from the other drivers racing for the podium. Gardner has just gained an incredible amount of speed here in these final couple of laps. Unless the caution flag flies, none of these drivers are going to have anywhere near the necessary speed to even think about catching that number 93 machine and taking home the race win. And again, Sabelski and Sukup both falling away from Tyler McRae. At this point, McRae is far enough ahead that he will win the championship here no matter what Sabelski does. 5 laps left to go here at Five Flags, one way or another, before we crown ourselves a race winner and before we crown a champion for season number 11 of the ASRC Oval Series. Only about a mile and a half left to go as Jason Gardner crosses the line. It's getting spread out up in the front, but all the drama is happening here between Sukup and Sabelski. These two are absolutely duking it out here with 3 laps left to go. We might see Sukup try and make a move down here. Not quite able to do it. He's actually going to try the high line and see if that works anything out for him. Not quite able to. 2 laps left to go before a champion here is decided in the ASRC Oval Series for season number 11. Jason Gardner going to come and take the white flag while this battle continues to rage on for the 3rd position. Next flag ends the race no matter what. Sukup almost into the outside wall. That might have just been the straw that breaks the camel's back here. I don't think he's going to be able to have the run to go down into 3 and 4. Checkered flag up in the air. And it's going to be Jason Gardner that takes home the win. Tyler McRae taking home the championship of the ASRC Oval Series.
Yeah, nice run there, Tyler. Congrats on the championship, man. And, yeah, I don't know how you popped out of the pits in front of me, but good strategy there, apparently. I had great racing with you, bud.
Yeah, I was around your bumper with that first stall. You just slam the gas when you leave, you know?
Yeah, it's a lot easier. You don't have to worry about sticking on speed limit.
Jason Gardner taking home the win here for the 5 Flag Speedway. Tyler McRae
that was a good
going to be a
season,
champion here.
I hope to see everybody back next season.
For season number 11. Getting it done with 7 wins to his name, so tying the record for most amount of wins in the Oval Series, but not quite breaking it.
I forgot.
That said, unfortunately, we cannot bring these drivers up into the broadcast booth to get some interviews with them here this evening. So let's take a quick look down at our race results and see how things shook out. Of course, Jason Gardner taking home the win here this evening. First ever win, or not first ever win, what am I saying? Second win of the season. He took home the win back at Thompson. He does it again here at 5 Flag Speedway. I think it's his first ever win at this track, though. That's going to be Tyler McRae taking home the championship and finishing the race back in second in that number 99. Third place runner-up in the championship. Final spot on the podium for 4-time champion Brian Sabelski here in the Oval Series. Not quite able to make the championship work for him here tonight. Fourth place going to go back to the other Dolphin Wells racing driver. That's the number 45 of Mr. Mike Sukup, followed by the 78 of Derek Murphy back in position number 5. Sixth going to go back to that 27 of Johnny Bell in the Dirt TV entry, followed by Nico Morelli and Patrick Dixon rounding out that 8-car field. That said, that's just about all we've got here from the 5 Flag Speedway, just about all we've got here for Season 11 of the ASRC Oval Series. Thank you all so much for tuning in to tonight's broadcast, and thank you all so much for coming out and supporting the league and putting on all of the great racing that they do. And here is to seeing you all again in season number 12. Thank you all for coming out, and have a good evening, race fans.